Okay, good night, good evening, good night. Good night to those who are now joining. Good evening, good night to all. Good night, good evening, good morning, good afternoon to whichever part of the world you're now joining. Bonjour, boa tarde, boa noite, buenos dias, buenas noites, buenas tardes. To whichever you're joining us from, a pleasant good evening from Guyana. A pleasant good evening from Guyana. Black love to you all. Black love to you all. Good evening. To those who are now joining, to those who have joined, share the live, share the live. Let others know that Dr. Matthews is in the house this evening. Share the live. Tonight is Friday night. It's a night that I would want to set aside all the time for my fellow viewers. It is freeing yourselves from the Pptp, the People's Progressive Terrorist Party. That's a topic tonight. We must free ourselves from this system that has been incurred upon us from the Pptp. As a nation, we reject this kind of behavior. We reject racism. We reject marginalization. We reject slavery. We reject terrorism. That is what is being displayed upon our nation over a period of a year and 6 months and counting. You understand what I mean? And it has continued to perpetuate itself through the ranks of this terrorist regime upon a people that never asked for this, and we will always stand against it. So tonight, it's about freeing yourself. It's about freeing yourself from this terrorist regime. Hold on. And as we continue to examine and continue to make the information relevant. Hold on. Oh my gosh. And we continue to free ourselves, we continue to educate ourselves. This is a platform here to you tonight because it's a wonderful discussion that we will have, and we will bring these to light. So, good evening to you all. Good evening from Guyana to the Caribbean Isles, to the West Indian Isles, to the Pacific Isles, to the British Virgin Isles, to the US Virgin Isles, to the Maldives, Mexico, US, Canada, UK, EU, China, Beijing, Hong Kong, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan, to the Australian continent, to the New Zealand Isles and the Tonga Isles, to the African continent, and all the countries thereof, all the way to the South American continent, from as far as Chile and Brazil, Colombia, Venezuela, Suriname, French and Dutch Guyana, to those from the Netherlands, to those who look at us from Curacao. Welcome to you all. This is Dr. Matthews coming to you from Guyana, live as it is. So today we had a display from the Special Organized Crime Unit known as SUKU, where they sent their agents to make an arrest. Remember last night I talked about special operating procedures or procedures, however the pronunciation fits the overstanding. Remember we talked about the special operating procedures. What an insult and embarrassment for you to go and arrest someone, to charge him, to intend to arrest and charge him for a charge that he's already placed before the courts for. I mean, my understanding is where the level of communication is at right now. Because to my understanding, Suku falls under the direction of the Guyana Police Force, under the direction of the Commissioner of Police. That's my understanding. Let us say they don't fall under the directions or the preview of the Office of the Commissioner of Police, but it falls under the Director of Public Prosecution or the Ministry of Home Affairs. Information is provided that they would have shared this information among themselves. Because you had to know that the guy had to turn up today for a court proceedings to put your agents there. I'm trying to understand where the level of intelligence of these offices that claims they hold some directive of the laws that is guided by the Constitution. I'm trying to understand that. But it is my understanding that they're trying to cause an insult to Mr. Paul Slow by constantly harassing him. Well, Mr. Paul Slow, I know everybody who finds themselves in the brushes with this de facto administration tries to do things diplomatically or professional. But where I'm concerned, I'm unprofessional because these people don't know what is professionalism. These people do not know what is professionalism. These people know that when you throw the pressure on them, they start screaming. And you got to do that in the same manner in which they want to execute their unprofessionalism, which is by lawlessness. You know, old people say when you fight fire with fire, you get born, right? Simple. They light a match, you light a lighter. A wood is born when you catch a flame, you throw it back at them. But let's get serious. Let us free ourselves from the Pptp. Because at the end of the day, we gain nothing. We gain nothing. At the end of the day, we gain nothing at all. Nothing we are gaining. Whether we become enslaved by the Pptp or we become oppressed by the Pptp, we still ain't gaining nothing. So what happens at the end of the day? We've been placed in a position where we're afraid to speak out. But we end up dying anyhow, even if we speak out or not. So they decide to humiliate Mr. Paul Stowe because Mr. Paul Stowe is now challenging the directives of the executive that sits in the office by legal means, which is the presidents that we have. So that is the only thing I can see, the constant harassment by members of the Guyana Police Force or the Special Organized Crime Unit, which is SUKU. Because I don't know how organized is that crime. You got to understand this thing. And a lot of things are happening that we cannot really understand what is going on. That arm of the law enforcement or discipline services or whatever you call them, SUKU, it can only be activated when a crime, when an the organism of a potential crime has been detected, or a crime would have committed via way of a communication of organizations to organize a crime that has been committed. I would like for them to show me what is so organized of the crime that Mr. Paul Stowe did. Because as far as I'm concerned, Order 60 is an organized crime. It's blatant. That's an organized crime. The taking of government properties, like the law books, that's an organized crime. As far as I'm concerned, you had to organize yourself to commit that crime. The taking of $140,000 that Mr. Leslie Ramsammy wasn't even charged about when he was Minister of Home Affairs, Minister of Health, that's an organized crime. The $25,000 that was taken from the Public Service Ministry by the Deputy PS and haven't been paid back as yet, that's an organized crime. Y'all get where I'm coming from? The intentions to defraud the state and in equivalent of hundreds of millions of dollars by the then Minister of Finance, who is now the senior minister within the office of the president in charge of finance, which is Mr. Ashley Singh, and was charged. You understand? That's an organized crime. Excuse me a bit, please. Let me put on back this light. Right. That's an organized crime. The unavailable and the unaccountable sums of money that disappears within NISL and cannot be accounted for, that's an organized crime. Believe you me, it is. That's an organized crime. I don't see how unorganized it is. Just give me a minute. Let me fix this light. Excuse me, please. Yes, I'm back. I had to fix that light that was coming off and on steady. Yes. We have organized criminals that are sitting in government. We have those that are involved themselves in the previous administration in organized crime. I don't know what's going on. We got people, hold on. I'm trying to find out where Suku is really investigating things pertaining to what is going on in this country. Is it that you're investigating only public servants who have served within a particular period of time in a manner to say that they have been organizing in themselves in a criminal effect that you're finding trumped up charges to give to them? Let me give you some information. They have a place that's called Sheriff Medical Center. If we want to start off with organized crime or anything in the organisms, they got a place named Sheriff Medical Center. When they started with Sheriff Taxi Service. Then they ended up with Sheriff Security Service. Then they exploded with Sheriff Medical Center. All these things, people have gained billions of dollars. I gotta look up into the sky. But here is the problem. All these people, all these things I'm talking about had what you call an economic boom in a country that doesn't have the population to turn over such amount of cash and cash flow that they would have gained over a period of time. I gotta think again. Put aside that, if y'all understand what I mean. So we can start giving Suku these ideas so they can investigate these people. How did you accumulate such wealth so you can acquire all these different things? Because you're a special organized crime unit. You're equipped with such information that you can investigate anybody. Put them aside. Let me look at e-networks. Son of the late Ripudaman Prasad. And then the daughter or the sister of the brother is a minister. Conflict of interest. Then you have hundreds of millions of taxpayers' monies that are going to them so we can pad the pockets of these special interest people, or you call them special interest groups. Suddenly you find an economic boom. Gotta look up into the air again. When Gavi Matthews talk, I don't care. Wonder how these people acquire these financial gains to become moguls. I scratch my head. Isn't Suku supposed to be looking into these things too? Hmm? Isn't Special Organized Crime Unit supposed to be looking into these things too? It's not finding trumped up charge to make or insult these persons. It's not finding trumped up charge. It is about doing your job. If you want to investigate somebody in your own special organized crime unit, and why the reason why I'm mentioning these things is because these are persons that have accumulated such an economic boom that everybody can see before their face and know who they were 4 years ago. Hey, Guyana is such a beautiful place, but it's real lawless take place. I could open a sweetie stand, and by the next 4 years from now, I got a shopping mall. Nobody investigating nobody. So already going on. Huh? What is really going on? Then these same people support the de facto administration, which are the business sector, or the PSC, private sector commission, that all these businesses sits on. These companies and business sits on this PSC commission. And then suddenly they give support and congratulatory message to a de facto regime for 1 year in power because they got to be nice to them because they pass a $3 billion budget to make them be more nice. So money gain away. Money gain away. So there's another section that Suku should start at the Office of Financial Affairs, not the Ministry of Finance, because we don't have a Minister of Finance. So there's no Ministry of Finance. The Office of Financial Affairs has been controlled and monitored from the Office of the President. The law says a finance ministry or a ministry shall be controlled and maintained by a minister and a permanent secretary. We don't have that. You all hear me? So when the Auditor General ready for look for accountability, they can't go there because it's not a ministry. It's an Office of Financial Affairs. So Suku, we could start right there too. Because since there's no accountability, there is a position to create an understanding of thievery. You got to understand how these people play, the games that they play. They take away the standing operating procedures so they can go in to these functionary bodies and take away their rights so they can pocket off the money. This was Suku supposed to go and start the investigations right there. Don't ask me. Ask the Office of Financial Affairs. Because in the last parliament, they went to pass a referendum or an amendment to say all these commissions and bodies shall fall under the budgetary functions of the Ministry of Finance. The High Court ruled the other day that's unconstitutional. The Chatrine talking no more. You know he's come out with his oblivions. I gotta use nice fancy words like how he's used. You understand? Because to his mind, it's an hypothesis. And like nobody can stop him with his stupidness because it's being trash. He just stop. A lot of filth. But because he named Attorney General, everybody frightened. But the man makes no sense. Logistically, he cannot even make sense. That's what's happening to him. So we as Guyanese now got to sit down and swallow all of that nonsense that comes out of his mouth. And the well-learned individual sits there and can't say anything because they got their career ahead of them. And they're frightened to be afraid to be marginalized. Or they're afraid to be identified as objectives against the Ministry of Legal Affairs. So I'm giving Suku clues that they can work with. Sit and investigate and ask the question, what is happening to the public funds, taxpayers' dollars at the end of the day without a proper monetary system that falls under the Office of Financial Affairs? Where does accountability goes? Is it a presentation? How is it presented? People begging the Auditor General's office to audit. People are begging the Auditor General's office to audit the monies that were given out to one child program of $19,000 voucher to each school child. How can you audit that when it's not coming from a Ministry of Finance? It's coming from an Office of Financial Affairs that's within the Office of the President, which has an executive, which is an executive over the Office of Financial Affairs. Because its minister is a senior minister within the Office of the President, which is in charge of finance. Not the Ministry of Finance, is in charge of finance. And where you think the Ministry of Finance office now lands under? Not the Office of the President. So it's not a ministry because it doesn't have a minister. It's an Office of Financial Affairs where no accountability could be given. Who are you going to ask? The President? The de facto? The dunce? In over there. And the other one over or on the, whichever one you want to put it. Going to say, well, that's none of your business. It's within the prerogatives of the President. So there's no accountability. So the public's money, taxpayers' money, have no accountability to how it's been spent. So that is what is going on. Mr. Reginald Prasad, I pay taxes for 15 years plus because I was a public servant. I pay PAYE. I PAYE means pay as you earn. I pay 33% on my allowances from the then de facto, from the then the PPP administration. I paid so many taxes that I'm entitled to pension, but I gotta wait until the age for that. Because it's a 10 years service in the public sector. You're entitled to pension. but I gotta wait retirement age. So don't worry with the Reginald. Tonight is your night. You could call in, let we have a discussion. Like break things up into syllables for you. Because apparently this kind of conversation becomes an epiphany to you guys. So you gotta sit and learn and try to understand what is being said. So we can better overstand the conversation or stand over such a dialect or a discussion. You understand what I mean? So we're talking about the de facto administration and freeing ourselves from such a slavery and a dictatorship environment, because it now puts public servants into a pocket of slavery. They now become slaves from an autocracy, not a democracy. You understand? But the thing with me is that diplomatically, I don't have diplomacy within my conversation, because when I call names, I call names. The facts is there. In Guyana, these politicians does things so barefacedly that you never gonna ask them for evidence. The thief in, big time, and they don't care. They're taking taxpayers' money and get away. And when the contractor can't fulfill this or that, they release them. For simple, I want Suku to investigate the monies that disappeared in the contractual agreement with Guy Oil, and the chairman and the managers that were released and sent home because they couldn't give accountability for certain things. Let them go there and do that investigation. It's taxpayers' money. Every day you open the papers, these people thieving. And because it's taxpayers' money, you can't get no information, you can't get nowhere, there's no evidence to produce. So people are being sent home based upon investigation. And before the investigation conclude, they get knocked off. So they pack up the traps and they go away. Nothing can be done about it. 5, 6, 7, $800 million disappear. And you can't ask no questions. You make a joke with Guyana, everything is disappeared. Soon as you slip, you wake up, that's it. Somebody thief it. Make a tempers are gone. When you're trying to be direct and go according to the laws, no, they got the thieves that say no right, they knock you out, boom, and they bring in somebody who gonna sign a check and get them and say, well, look, out of 400 million, take 10 million and give me the rest. That's what happens in this country. So thieving Guyana big time. And we got a special organized crime unit running behind people, running them down. And you got people who thieving every single day. Now the People's Progressive Terrorist Party realize that they're unconstitutional. They're thieving more bad because we don't have a constitution to represent us. So what happened to Suku? Suku really going on? What really taking place? These people say no behind desks, getting away the public funds, taxpayers' dollars, getting it away. Come look, they're free. Take it. Every time they open them out to say we gaining $25,000 old age pension extra, you got to watch them. The thief in. They gain away, what was it? COVID money, which is not $25,000, the thief in. Did you know that that money was designed to give every household in Guyana 50,000 Guyana dollars? When the People's Progressive Terrorist Party came in, they broke it down to 25 so you can understand where the next 25 gone. Suku, where are you? Like we sleeping. We there behind the wheel, we coming round the turn, but we doing a horn 80 miles to the hour. So you can imagine when you straighten up what happens off the cliff. You know, sometimes I gotta wonder. Sometimes I gotta wonder. You got a man sitting in the seat as vice president. He got crimes of humanity investigation and warrant for him. He got fraud investigations for him. He got an accountability of assets that were actually even frozen or either frozen from different countries that he can't hold on. And a forensic audit was done, which account for more than 45 million US dollars in different bank accounts. And the laws of Guyana says that he or she cannot be prosecuted either in or out of office for crimes they committed. They're immune. She's running around. Can't free, you can't lock you up, you can't charge you, can't do nothing. And the office of Commissioner of Police or the office of the we call it just don't remember. It's the crime chief office, but I'm trying to remember the name of how they did this, the name of the particular office. Got another name. Let's put it on there. Going to give to me a piece of paper that says these two names or some names that they were talking about at some time or the other has no criminal charges against them. And look at who they bring now. The vice presidents and the presidents. How, in common sense, how can you find charges of two persons that are immune from the laws, that cannot be charged by the criminal system of this country? They cannot be charged by the Guyana police force. They can only be taken to court by a private citizen. But maybe, oh shoot, I just talked the bad thing out. Maybe they didn't hear about the part. They didn't read the part. So it's only a private citizen can take them to court, like what Miss Ferguson did. She took the rat to court, and the court said, okay, $20 million. Fine. Got to pay the woman. You got to pay the woman. And screaming out. Gone for appeal the case where you don't know. According to the judicial system is another 5 years. Or it's another 2-3 years. Because you don't know when the case will come up for the woman to get your money. It's the usual thing. So that's what keeps happening. So now they're putting criminals in place to become executive of the supreme law of the country. So the criminal justice system can't charge them because they're immune. They're immune from the law. Not only that, a lot of people can't be charged. What do you think happen when they become charged? Suddenly, the Office of Director of Public Prosecution drops the charge, like what they did with Claudette Singh. You could imagine Mingo, Lowenfield, and Claudette Singh had private criminal charges against them. When the de facto administration came in, the Director of Public Prosecution decided to drop all charges against Ms. Claudette Singh, but increase all charges against Lowenfield and Mingo. Tell me what the racism there. Two black men. Yeah, man. Put some charges on them. More racism, more discrimination, more terrorism. Poor men, they're tired running around the place. Our representation that the justice, the criminal justice system can't defend them. It can't give them justice. As a matter of fact, it's taking their civil and human rights away. Neither the judicial system ain't giving them justice because you go to court now, you got to come back to court next 2 years from now. So when will justice prevail? You're telling me one judge, two judge? No, listen to me. This case is simple. The standing operating procedure says when you charge someone and you place them before the court, you have to give a statement of evidence. If you're in the high court, you have to submit your written submissions with all the evidence. All the judge got to do, or the magistrate got to do, is go back. Because I'm sure that in our office, there are legal personnel that can read these jackets and understand where there are violations and where there is not. And a judgment can pass as early as possible. You got to wait 2 years from now because nobody doesn't want to offend the Attorney General or to offend the dunce we got as a president. Hmm. You know, today I was doing a bit of driving, and whilst coming to prepare myself for the show tonight, I was listening to the radio. And you know what? Hold on. The radio, all the radio was doing is playing things that are not pertaining to what the culture resides today in Guyana. A de facto administration, people who are stealing the public's funds, people who was set aside our constitution for their own benefits. None of these things are being uttered on the radio. Everybody's so fired up because there's a huge distraction. Music comes to the ears of those who wants to be blinded some more. And we have leaders who can tell all these persons, can give them a message that, well, look, it's not business as usual. Because every single day now that comes about, every 24 hours, Guyanese rights are now being violated. Their human rights are now being taken away from them. And we got some people who think that they're bullies. You can't talk about them. Well, I got to talk about you. I got to continue talking about you. You're no good. You're worse than a disinfectant. You're no good. And when you're trying to marginalize a country or divide them or destabilize or destabilize a population, it makes you no good as a person because your agenda is destruction. And I will keep on talking about it. Because to the People's Progressive Terrorist Party, you're a bunch of thieves and murderers. That's who you are. And for me to sit here to free my people from such a system that continues to destabilize the mind of Guyanese, to increase fear and terror that is being dished out upon them as a nation from a racist group of people. There's no checks and balances when you ask for checks and balances. Who are you? You got to be locked up. Just because Mr. Paul so asks for checks and balances, you want to lock him up. You want to humiliate him. You can imagine you're spending Guyanese, these people spending hundreds of thousands of Guyanese dollars, US currency that comes from the coffers, to go overseas to ask for photo ops. So try to discredit members of the AP and UAFC. They're working so tediously. They send the house slave still over there. The chief house slave, which is the prime house slave. Send him till there to smile, to look for photo ops with members of the US Congress, like if they mean something. They mean nothing. One man don't say it's a bunch of terrorists. You're racist. That's who you are. You're vexed, you're on the heels. And then you're sending your henchmen like O.C. Rogers to try to discredit even more. I call names. I ain't afraid of no ghosts. And I will never be afraid of no ghosts. Boys can't frighten me, friend. The power does not lie in money. The power lies in the people. The people who has the power. You are going to know his power just now. We're coming up sharp. I don't know his power just now. But we need to free ourselves from the Pptp. And how we go about doing such is by activating our knowledge, giving power to ourselves by knowledge, so we can understand what is being said to us on a daily basis. We can ask the questions we have to ask, not being afraid to ask. That is what gives yourself powers beyond measures. And when we do those things, we realize there's no use of money. Money can't take away your freedom of speech, your freedom of rights, to exercise those rights, and your civil rights. Can't do that. You realize that money means nothing. It's like a sounding brass and a tingling cymbal. Because there's no worth of it, but some of us create such a worth and wealth of it that we're willing to kill the entire world for it, to burn the place down for it. That is what we're doing. We don't care the lives that we put into mayhem and distress. And here is the most nonsensical thing of it. When we don't do it, we turn and say, well, buy people gotta eat. Eat where? How we eating? How you alone eating all this food? when you got people hungry right next to you. It's an increased crime. It's an increase of destruction among our people. They're now treating us like dogs indeed, because that's how they look at us as black people. We, you, you know, these people fail to realize in everything there is opposition. Not because your name PPP make you supposed to get opposition. There is opposition in everything. Because there are things that you and I would do is not please or pleasing to people. So there will be opposition. You gotta face it like a man and take it. Stand up and accept yourself as an opposition group of people. And come again, you don't terrorize people, you don't take people's constitution away from them. These things you don't do. You know, I was reading an excerpt, an investigating excerpt from a bunch of, well, from a main media house where they're investigating all the different things that are happening now in this country. And that came from an internal section of that media house, where it cannot be printed into the news media nor it can be said on the national television because we don't have investigative journalism. If we do, they're afraid to speak out because they might lose their jobs. Let me tell you something. This de facto administration that calling the PPP have one agenda. Take, take, take all the time. Take on there is no more. They intend to sell this country out if they can't get it. That's their intentions. They intend to destroy the morals of this place and of the people if they can't get certain things going their way. That's their intentions. They have no peaceful agenda on the line. Their agenda is to destabilize and take away the rights of a people by a support of an international community and an embassy that is run by a witch. That is their intentions always. So they're working, you could imagine. Before you take the same money and look after the people in the country that needs it the most, you're taking it to spend it so people can take away the rights of the people in the country that you call yourself the executive. You can imagine that. They're spending taxpayers' money just for a photo op. Just for a photo op. They're spending taxpayers' money so they can get whosoever senator they want to embrace them with a handshake and a billboard behind them that says, "Welcome you." They're spending money over time. I know whose money that they're spending. Our money. And when you ask for accountability, you can't get it. Nobody has nobody has the authority to ask them. Nobody. When you ask them now, you become an outcast. Suddenly there's a report in the media about you. But the thing is that they can't go back onto history because they got the history too. All of them in the parties are questionable character. All of them. Even to the business people that follow them are questionable characters. A bunch of thieves. Overnight thieves that turn millionaires that suddenly wants to be legitimized. How can you legitimize a criminal? It's like you go to the court sentence you to 10, 15 years in jail, you come out and you want to be, oh shoots, I don't remember, we got one of them, one at jail. I forget. I forget. So I'm right indeed. You go to jail, you've been you went to jail as a convicted criminal, and you come out and you suddenly want to be legitimate. You check the people who these people is put into power. I mean, you can go to jail for different reasons, but it's the kind of crime you go to jail for. A lot of people go to jail because they are looking to create civility among human beings and fighting for human rights. And the system is a mad at you and they take and put them in jail. And the guys, some of them go to jail for treason, some of them go to jail for murder because they were convicted. And they come out to want to tell you that they're Lord God. You know, the worst thing you can do is take a slave and put him to enslave his own people. When you do that, they have no mercy. They wanted to know what the black man like himself did something to him. They come down with brute force and ignorance. You know, there's a lot of things that's going on. There's a lot of things that's going on in Guyana. A lot of unaccountability that is now going on in Guyana. We got ambulances driving all around the place, empty, making a certain noise. And people are getting paid taxpayers' dollars. For every time an ambulance picks itself up, it heads to where it's going and come back and runs in at the Liliendal COVID-19 hospital center. They're being paid. They are being paid. And believe you me, taxpayers' dollars again. They're finding ways and means to pay, to give away taxpayers' dollars so their friends and cronies can benefit. They're finding a way. But they still broke because they got to repay the 40 odd million that they took. They got to repay the 40 odd million they took from the investors to invest in the past election. They got to find back that money. This is why I tell you the Brooks. They're doing all sorts of jiggery poogery just to make sure that they find some sort of money. And they're doing it well. But we are sitting here so blind. That we're not asking them for accountability. We're not doing nothing. We got the police arresting, shooting, and killing people on the other hand. We got the humiliation of our leaders and our elders in the courts. We got the president that cannot be charged because he suddenly got some immunity. We got thieves that are now taking place, thievery that is now taking place in the public's coffer, and we can't ask for accountability. Suddenly, the Auditor General's office gone quiet. Suddenly, there's no question about accountability. Nobody wants to go down that lane. No one seems to be asking about that. Apparently, that becomes a dead stop. And when you ask, do you sure know somebody come knocking by your door to ask you who you? You can see when they look at me, when they see me on the road or they see me, oh, you know what's the amazing thing? I want to say this. You know, today I went into courts, Guyana, to find out about a item that I need to purchase. The girl asked me about my COVID card. So I told her that I'm unvaccinated. And she told me I must go and stand in the corner to wait to her to now attend to me. As I want to tell Courts Guyana Limited that I'm not their slave. You understand? I will go in no corner and stand to wait. You ask me no question. You won't have my money. At least I know that for sure. But I'm happy to know that you started to dictate the show too. Because you're now telling people to enter your business, they got to show covert card. It's all right. It's your business. You can keep your business. And nobody spend at you. I want to see what happen. I know there are a lot of people they must pay the courts bill yet because there are a lot of unvaccinated people like me walking around the place that are indebted to courts. So that's a tune that we can play. But what is happening now is that all these things are playing out. And suddenly nobody got no questions or answers to none of it. The Auditor General office gone silent and dumb. Suddenly there's no accountability for anything of how monies are now being spent in this country by a de facto administration. Nobody asking no questions. Everybody are now being silent. They're looking to see the next move of the de facto administration. That's what's happening. So now we become uncertain because there's a lot of uncertainty. Because we don't know what's going on. So here what we're doing now. We're going ahead and call the strike. We can't say strike. The economic blackout. We're going ahead with that. So what is going to happen that is now people are going to cease spending. People are going to cease spending at these private entities. They will hold their monies back into their pockets. People will ease being going to work so we can put the economic pressure on this de facto administration. We will now put them in what you call circumstantial constraints so we can develop the pressure for them to stop oppressing us. We will take away our rights to spend at your business so we can keep our power and we can demand you to respect us and go and do the rightful thing because we now have the power to make a change in our country, and we will. Yes, we will. We will tighten our screws upon them that always seeks to enslave, oppress, and racially destabilize this country. Continuously, like the Pptp, you got to put these people in check and in question. Things cannot be business as usual anymore. The time is coming, you will hear about it. Guyana economic blackout will stand to make sure that your voices be heard. People will be represented, whether what ethnic background you're from, because it's time you take a stand. I'm tired and fed up of this entire shabacle. This is not supposed to be happening so long. So many things have been come and passed and gone. This is not supposed to be happening. Every single day, a Guyanese rights have been taken away and they're being humiliated every single day. Their constitutional rights are being violated from a group of racists and murderers and terrorists. That's who they are. That's who the Pptp is. So that is what we're doing. To those who are looking, we're not going to encourage now the boycott of their businesses. Sheriff Medical Center is one. Y'all don't go there. The international community is now telling you that these are people with questionable characters. So y'all don't go patronize anything from these people. Don't go pay for the medical attention. Stay away from them. Giftland Office Max is the next one. Stay away from them. And people that want you money, they don't have no time with you. Marseilles is another one. Keep your money in your pocket. Stay away from Marseille stores. I know what I'm telling y'all. We're only contributing to their lifestyle, which is to upkeep and prop this de facto administration up so they can keep enslaving the population of Guyanese. That is their intentions. And they will never shy away from it. These people that I've just called are the forebearers of the situation that's now taking place in our country that props up this de facto administration. E-Networks is another one. Yes. E-Networks is another one. I see somebody put National Hardware. You shouldn't support a business that support this de facto administration and oppressing you. Like calling a name out. Because they congratulate them on 1 year of progress. You could imagine that. Which progress you talking about? 3,000 plus people are on the breadline. Looking for it. Things have become harder for them. You think this de facto administration cares? They don't care. They don't even care if you care. They don't even care if you're in black, Indian, Portuguese, or Chinese. They don't care neither. All they care about is their pockets. That is their interests and intentions. You see, they're still begging. They're going out and begging like babies. They want some money, but and in order to get the money, more people have to die. You have to create a destabilizing position in your country in order to get assistance and support. That's what they want. That is the position now of this present de facto administration. That is why we need to free ourselves from them and their entertainment industry, because that is the distraction. That is what they keep on doing. And to you, who think that you're doing the right thing, you're up and you're entertaining, you're following up this entertainment, your mind and your key, gonna happen. So it's all about a distraction. Distract and take. Distract and take all the time. Yes, all of them. It's about distract and take. You turn on the radio, ain't got nothing they talking about Guyana. It's about some music and you can bounce. Or you can sing and gain a piece of fried chicken. Like what is going on behind me right now? They're not telling you the truth. They don't want you to know the truth. They will never sit and tell you the facts of what is going on now in Guyana and the political destabilization of a country. They ain't gonna tell you that. They will never say to you, well, look, we have a destabilizing situation that we, the citizens of this country, needs to look into so we can do the right thing for our people. They will never encourage such a reasoning. We gotta wait till every morning. Wait till Mr. Mosey turn on the station to tell you what frets you. Well, here, you could call Gavin Matthews show and tell me what you intend to do to save your country from what is happening right now, because we're going under each and every single day. We are now being depleted and depreciated as a country. All sorts of things are happening, and we can't get the drift. We can't get the drift, and it seems to be our memory is losing us. Because if you can have 23 years of terror and tyranny and mayhem and murder, I can't understand how 10 years after you forgot that. There are still mothers who are wailing in the streets. There are still mothers who can't find the sons and husbands, and nephews. There are still mothers who cannot hear the voice of those they love until they can't hear it until now. They're still working on looking for them and hoping that they will turn up someday. And then the criminal sits there as a vice president. Tell me what he thinks of the opposition. This is what I think of you. This is what I think of you. You're a murderer. That's what I think of you. Nothing more else. And we will revolt against you. There is a natural mystic blowing through the air upon a revolution that it's coming near you, very much nearer to you. Be advised that the people of this country will not take it anymore. I am one of them. I've been seeing it for years and I'm tired. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of begging you to say to tell me. I'm tired of begging you to tell me what happened. What's an investigation against our loved ones that disappeared and were murdered? I'm tired. This is a brewing situation we need to get ourselves out from as a people and as a country. We're not benefiting from it. I wish we were, but we're not benefiting from it. There's more poverty now in Guyana within the space of a year and change than 4 years ago. Because people don't understand there's a lot of people who are on the breadline who is suffering. They might look good and happy, but they're suffering. Nothing is being done for them. For the little that everybody has, especially me, I will try to give out. But how many persons? And then you're telling me you have economic growth when you have nearly 10% of the working force on the breadline. 10%. How is this money turning around? How are you getting this kind of foreign currency to spend? How are you getting the benefits of having good interests and profits from interests? How are you getting that? Tell me. Suku, I would like for you to explain to me how people are multiplying without being properly investigated or being properly monitored. Can you imagine that? But you know what? I want to say this to you all, guys. To those who are looking and to those who have joined me within the past hour and change. And keep on tuning in to the Gavin Matthews Show. Let's talk issues more than policies of a political regime. But let's talk issues for the people and how to get ourselves out of these issues. Let's find solutions in this conversation on a nightly basis from Monday to Friday. Let's help ourselves, educate ourselves, so we can understand what is being said to us and we can apply it to our lives so we and our families can benefit from this application. I want to say thank you for joining. Thank you for tuning. Thank you for sharing the live and continue to do so. I want to say to stay safe, be careful, sanitize yourself, wear a mask. Don't forget the little ones you take into public places. Vote in the referendum. As you go on the Gavin Matthews page and you see it, vote in the referendum and contribute to our GoFundMe so we can get things cracking and going in this country. This is Dr. Matthews saying good night. Cheerios for now.